Just be mature about it, okay? She said it like we were talking about swapping seats at a restaurant, not about the only place in the world that ever felt like mine. It was a Monday evening. I remember because the lasagna was still in the oven when she dropped the line, and the scent of burning cheese was starting to stick to the air. I was sitting on the couch with a gaming controller in my hand, halfway through loading a campaign I'd been meaning to finish for weeks. I didn't look up right away, just sat there trying to make sense of what she meant, what she was really saying. Mom had that tone again, the tone she saved for "I've already decided, but I'm pretending you still have a say." My name's Tyler, 17, senior year, not quite a golden boy, but I didn't cause trouble. B average, part-time grocery job, decent at fixing bikes and computers. Lived with Mom in a modest 2-bedroom apartment on 43rd, the kind of place where you can hear your neighbor's microwave and the radiator clangs like a ghost in the walls. It used to be just the two of us, then came Greg. Greg was, okay, the kind of guy who always knew where the coupons were and called you champ even if you were just taking out the trash. He wore cologne that smelled like citrus and control, and he moved in with his son Zane about 10 months ago. Zane was 15, all angles and awkward energy. He had this smug little laugh that made everything sound like an inside joke you weren't part of. I didn't hate the kid, not at first, but I didn't trust him either. We managed fine mostly. I kept my door shut, did my thing, stayed out of the way. The second bedroom was mine, had been since I was 12. Posters on the wall, blackout curtains, the old bookshelf I built with Mom one summer when money was tight, my desk, my mattress, my life. And now she was standing in the kitchen, oven mitt on one hand, telling me with a straight face to give it up. For what, I asked, eyes still on the paused screen. A storage closet. She sighed like I was the one being unreasonable. Zane's going through a lot right now, okay? His dad and I think he could use a little more space. You're older, you can handle it. Handle what? Being downgraded like I'm a guest. That hit her, she flinched just a little. You're not a guest, Tyler, this is still your home. Yeah, sure doesn't feel like it. I don't even remember finishing dinner that night. The rest blurred, lasagna scraped into Tupperware, Zane pretending not to hear anything from the hallway, Greg doing that thing where he rubs the back of his neck when things get tense. They gave me the coat closet across from the washer-dryer, cleared out some shelves, put a twin-air mattress on the floor, said it was temporary, said it wouldn't change anything between us. They lied. The first week in that glorified crawl space was a mix of noise and silence. I could hear Zane playing music late at night, laughing on Discord with his friends. Mom's voice muffled through the wall, Greg's too, always calm and reasonable, like he was narrating a commercial for Family Values. And me, I barely slept, not because of the mattress, though it sucked, but because something in me had snapped, quietly, cleanly, like a wire pulled too tight. I kept going to school, kept punching in at my shift at Freshway on Saturdays and Sundays, smiled at customers, bagged groceries, but inside I started building a wall, brick by bitter brick. Zane wasn't some traumatized orphan. He had a phone nicer than mine, got dropped off at school in Greg's car while I took the bus. He got to keep his weekends while I worked mine. And now he had my room, my walls, my bed, my lamp with the dumb dent in the shade that I'd stopped noticing. He walked in like he owned it, didn't even say thanks. One night I found him going through my books, just sitting on the bed, flipping pages of The Road like it was his. Yo, I said from the doorway, voice flat. He looked up, didn't even flinch. This one's depressing as hell. It's not yours. He held my gaze a second too long, then shrugged and dropped it on the bed. Chill, man, it's just a book. I didn't answer, I just walked away, because in that moment I realized Zane didn't get it. He didn't see what he was taking, and Mom, she didn't want to see. But I did. I saw everything. 2 more weeks passed, I stopped eating at the table, ate in shifts, slept with headphones in, not for music, just for the illusion of control. Mom kept trying to have talks with me, but I gave her one-word answers, polite, distant, numb. Then one night, Greg made a mistake. He left his laptop open in the living room while they were out. I was grabbing a snack, leftover noodles, when I noticed it. Now password locked. I didn't mean to snoop, I really didn't. But the screen was on an email thread, subject line, custody conversation, follow-up. I froze. Click. There it was. Greg and his ex were arguing about Zane, who gets what weeks, who pays for what, and then in one of the replies something caught my eye. He's finally got his own space again. Thanks to Amanda, she moved Tyler to the laundry room. We're stable now, no more disruptions. My mom, my name like I was an obstacle. I stared at it for a long time, just stared. Then I closed the lid and walked away. That was the night the plan began, quiet, careful, one step at a time. Not a tantrum. Not revenge. Just balance. And I knew exactly what I was going to take. The next morning, I sat across from Mom at the kitchen counter while she scrolled through a coupon app on her phone, sipping reheated coffee from a mug that said "World's Okayest Mom." Fitting, I thought. She glanced up, surprised to see me. "You're up early." "Yeah," I said, buttering a piece of toast I didn't plan on eating. Figured I'd be productive. "Nice, good to see you bouncing back." That line stuck in my chest like a stone. Bouncing back from what, Mom? From being replaced in my own house, from becoming an afterthought. I nodded instead of speaking. It was easier that way. The plan wasn't criminal, not technically. It was just personal. The thing I decided to take wasn't an object. Not exactly. It was something quieter, something deeper, something Zane couldn't replace even if he had 10 rooms and a PlayStation 6. It started with the guitar. Zane didn't play, I did, but Greg had bought him a brand new Fender for Christmas anyway, probably trying to be cool dad. The guitar sat in the corner of what used to be my room, untouched, still gleaming. The strings had dust on them. One afternoon while everyone was out, dentist appointment for Mom, Zane's therapy, Greg's car maintenance, I took it. Not far, just to the basement storage lockers our apartment complex assigned. I didn't pawn it, didn't damage it. I just hid it behind old paint cans and a stack of unused holiday wreaths. That was phase 1. Phase 2 was more subtle. I started taking back time. Zane's school bus came at 7:15. Mine 6:45. But if I left a little later, just enough, we crossed paths in the lobby. "Hey," he muttered once, eyes on his phone. I didn't respond. Instead, I held the elevator door and smiled like I worked in customer service. The next time, I let the door start closing just as he reached it, his face scrunched up like a kid who dropped his ice cream. "You saw me," he said. I shrugged. "Oh, didn't realize, my bad." He didn't say anything the next morning, but I could feel the tension start to build. Then came phase 3. I found the charger to his Nintendo Switch under the couch cushions. Instead of giving it back, I stashed it in the back of the kitchen drawer beneath the warranty manuals and stale soy sauce packets. He searched for it for 2 days. "I swear it was right here," he said, crawling on the floor like a raccoon. Mom raised an eyebrow. "Maybe you left it at your mom's." "I did. I just kept doing the dishes." Silent. This wasn't about petty sabotage. It was about tipping the scale back. I'd spent years trying to be the mature one, the adaptable one, the understanding son who gave my mom the benefit of the doubt, but what did that get me? A storage closet with a view of the washing machine and a weekly dose of "You're so resilient, sweetie." Resilient. The word made my stomach turn. One evening, Greg called a family meeting. That was his phrase, like we were some sitcom unit with matching sweaters and a laugh track. We sat around the coffee table, Zane on the floor, Mom cross-legged beside Greg on the love seat. I took the armchair, arms crossed. "So," Greg began, adjusting his glasses, "there's been some tension lately." Mom chimed in, "It's normal, we're blending families and it's a transition." Zane rolled his eyes. "It's not normal for my stuff to keep disappearing." I raised an eyebrow. "That's so." He snapped toward me. "Yeah, my guitar's gone, my hoodie vanished, my phone charger too. Maybe the ghosts are redecorating." Mom frowned. "Tyler." "What?" I shrugged. "I live in a laundry closet, not much room for souvenirs." Greg leaned forward. "Look, we're not accusing anyone, we just need to create a respectful environment. Everyone has the right to feel safe and secure in their space." I stared at him. My space had been stripped without so much as a conversation. Still, I nodded. "Sure, respect, got it." The meeting ended with promises of open dialogue and trust. They didn't know that by then, the real phase 4 was already underway. Zane had a soft spot for photography. He'd taken an elective photography class the previous semester and bragged about how the teacher said he had a real eye. He left his photos printed and stacked on the desk. Shots of trees, buildings, a macro close-up of a bee on a leaf. They weren't bad. One day while he was in the shower, I went in and swapped 3 of his better prints with nearly identical stock images I printed from the library. They were close but not the same. I left the originals in a manila envelope under my bed in the closet. That evening, I heard him muttering, "These aren't mine, this isn't right." Greg didn't believe him. "You sure, buddy?" "Yes, I had watermarks, signatures." "Maybe you're remembering wrong." "I'm not." He went quiet after that, but I could see it, the doubt setting in. He was being erased by inches. Like I had been. Mom cornered me in the hallway a few nights later. "You've been different lately," she said, colder. I leaned against the doorframe. "I wonder why." She looked away. "This is hard for all of us." "No," I said, "it's hard for me. You made it easier for everyone else." Her jaw tightened. "You're not being fair." "And you think this arrangement is?" "You're 17, Tyler. You'll be out of here in a year. Zane's younger. He needs more support." I just stared at her. I needed support too, but instead I got a twin mattress next to detergent. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. Her silence was louder than anything else she could have said. By the time summer rolled in, I'd taken almost everything back. The room still his, but the feeling of control, mine. I'd taken back space in their minds. I'd become unpredictable, not loud, not aggressive, but present in ways that made them nervous. They stopped leaving things unattended. Started whispering behind doors again. I could tell they were waiting for me to snap. But I didn't. I just kept living. Breathing. Watching. Planning. Because the final phase, the thing I would take that Zane couldn't replace, wasn't a guitar or a charger or a photo. It was coming. And when I took it, they'd finally understand what it felt like to lose something that mattered. It started with a note. Not dramatic, not even emotional. Just a plain, folded sheet of printer paper I slipped under Zane's door one morning before school. "You'll never feel at home in someone else's life." That was it. No name, no threat, just a truth I'd learned the hard way. I didn't stick around to see his reaction. I slipped on my hoodie, grabbed my backpack, and left early, my earbuds playing static just to block out the world. The thing I was going to take from Zane wasn't something that could be boxed up or moved or pawned. It was confidence. Belonging. The quiet certainty that when you closed your door at night, the world outside didn't want to push you out of it. That took patience. And I had plenty. Zane started slipping. I saw it at breakfast a week later. He stirred his cereal for 5 minutes straight, eyes glazed, spoon clinking the bowl in slow rhythm. Mom tried to cheer him up. "You've been quiet lately, sweetheart. You okay?" "Yeah." She waited. He didn't look up. That afternoon, I came home early from school, pretended I had a study group that got canceled. Zane's room, my old room, was empty. But something was different. The closet door was open. I stepped inside. The overhead light buzzed, slightly dimmer than I remembered. My old bookshelf was still there, filled now with Zane's comic books and gaming manuals. But on the top shelf, I saw something familiar. A framed photo. It was one Mom had taken of me at my 8th grade science fair. I built a rickety-looking weather balloon out of foil and string, and I was holding it like it might float off without me. She made a big deal of it at the time, had it printed, framed it herself. And now, it was on his shelf. I stared at it for a long time. That was the moment I knew he wasn't just using my old space, he was trying to erase me from it. So I took it. That night, Zane knocked on the closet door while I was doing geometry homework on my mattress. He didn't wait for permission to come in. "Did you take my photo?" I looked up. "It wasn't yours. It was in my room." "You mean my old room?" He clenched his jaw. "You don't live there anymore." I stood. "Doesn't mean I don't still exist." We stood in silence. The hallway light behind him made him look smaller than he acted. Then he said, "What's your problem with me?" "You replaced me." "I didn't ask to." "Neither did I." He turned to leave, then hesitated. "You're not going to win." "Win what?" He didn't answer, just walked away. That weekend, the final phase began. I signed up for an open mic night. Zane loved performing. He was in drama club, had done a monologue once that got a standing ovation at school. But he hadn't done an open mic yet, I made sure of that. I didn't tell anyone. Didn't even use my name on the sign-up sheet. When the night came, I wore a hoodie and kept my head down until it was my turn. I walked on stage with a single object, the dented desk lamp from my old room. Set it on the stool beside me. Took a breath. And told a story. It wasn't fiction. It was about a boy whose home shrank around him. Who watched as everything he thought was permanent became negotiable. A boy whose mother looked at him like a utility instead of a son. Whose stepbrother moved in and claimed more than just the extra seat at dinner. I didn't use names. Didn't have to. I talked about the sound of a washing machine at midnight, the feel of a too-thin mattress, the smell of lasagna going cold while someone told you to be mature. People listened. Really listened. A couple even cried. When I stepped off stage, I left the lamp behind, like a marker, like a flag planted in enemy territory. The video went viral. Someone recorded it, grainy phone footage, but clear enough to hear every word. Within 2 days, it had over 20,000 views. Comments poured in. I've been there, this hit hard. I felt invisible in my own house too. Whoever you are, thank you for saying what so many of us couldn't. I didn't post it. Didn't claim credit. But Mom saw it. I came home to find her in the kitchen, phone in her hand, tears brimming. Tyler, she said quietly, was that you? I nodded. She didn't speak for a long time. Then you could have told me. I tried, you just weren't listening. Later that night, I heard Zane crying. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just soft, muffled sobs through the wall that used to separate us. I didn't feel good about it. Didn't feel bad either. I just felt still. Like the storm had passed and left silence in its wake. Mom knocked on my closet door the next morning. I'm sorry, she said. I looked up from my notebook. For what? For taking the easy way, for making you invisible. She sat on the floor across from me. I let my guilt for Zane become your burden. I thought you'd understand. I thought you'd be strong. I said, but strong doesn't mean disposable. She nodded, biting her lip. We're moving, she said after a moment. Greg and I were getting a bigger place. You'll have your own room again if you want. What about Zane? He's going to live part-time with his mom again. He needs that stability too. I didn't say anything. I didn't need to. For the first time in months, the space didn't feel so small. Zane left a note on my desk 2 days later. I didn't mean to take your place. I was just trying to find mine. I'm sorry. I left a reply taped to his door before he packed. You never had to take anything, you just had to ask. I helped him carry his last box to the car. Zane didn't say much, neither did I. The silence between us wasn't heavy anymore. It was just settled. He stood there holding the passenger side door open, one hand resting on the roof like he wasn't sure whether to get in or ask for something more. Your photos, I said, the real ones there in the top drawer of the hall cabinet. His eyes darted to mine. Why'd you take them? I didn't blink, because I wanted you to feel what it's like to lose something no one else even knows you care about. He nodded slowly, then got in and closed the door. Greg gave me a polite, tight-lipped smile before pulling away. I raised a hand but didn't wave. Just like that, he was gone. The new place was nicer. 3 bedrooms, hardwood floors, a sliding glass door to a tiny balcony that overlooked a gas station, but it felt like luxury to us. Mom gave me first pick of the rooms. I chose the one at the end of the hallway, not because it was the biggest, but because it was the farthest from the master suite. I wanted a wall of air between us, space to breathe. I didn't put up any posters. Didn't hang the weather balloon photo. I kept the walls bare for a while, like I needed them to learn who I was before they could hold my memories. At school, people started recognizing me. Nothing crazy, no fame, but once or twice a week someone would tap me on the shoulder at lunch or in the library and say something like, "Hey, you were the one from that video, right, with the lamp?" I'd nod. A few even asked me to perform again. But I didn't. Because the point wasn't to be seen by the world, it was to be seen by them. And that had finally happened. One evening in early March, Mom came into my room holding something behind her back. "Peace offering," she said, pulling out a brand new desk lamp, same style as the old one but without the dent. "Looks familiar," I said. She laughed, thought it might. I took it from her hands, heavier than I expected, set it on my desk. "You don't have to forgive me," she said after a pause, "but I hope one day you might." I didn't say anything. Not right away. But I turned the lamp on and left it glowing until I fell asleep. That weekend, I got a text from Zane. "Hey, you still got my guitar?" I stared at it for a long time before replying. "Yeah, it's in the basement storage, safe." "Cool, I might come grab it sometime." "No rush." A minute passed. I missed the bookshelf. I almost laughed. I missed the blackout curtains. He sent a GIF, some dumb meme with a raccoon holding a light bulb like it was treasure. I didn't reply, but I didn't block him either. 2 months passed. Then Mom asked if I'd consider something crazy. "A podcast," she said, "about blended families, what worked, what didn't, not therapy, just stories, maybe even with you and Zane." I raised an eyebrow. "You think he'd go for that?" She shrugged. "He's not the same kid, neither are you." She left the idea there, like a seed on the windowsill. I didn't water it. Not yet. But I didn't throw it away either. Spring came early that year. One Sunday, I walked past the old apartment. I hadn't planned to, just took a long way home from work, earbuds in, zoning out. The complex looked the same. Cracked sidewalk, flickering entry light, the same rust stain on the gutter. But the space I used to occupy, the second-floor window, third from the left, was dark. Empty. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't expected. Not anger. Not regret. But peace. The kind that comes when you realize you never needed to take everything back, you just needed to take enough to feel whole again. I came home that evening and finally put something on my wall. It wasn't the old photo, wasn't a certificate or a quote or anything sentimental. It was a print of one of Zane's real photos, the bee on the leaf. I'd made a copy and framed it. Not because I owed him, but because in a strange way, he was part of my story too. It was almost a year to the day since I'd been moved into the laundry closet when I saw Zane again. We met at a park halfway between our houses. It was Mom's idea, not forced, just suggested in that mom way that feels like an emotional truce negotiation. She texted us both earlier that week. "No pressure, just think it might be good for closure, or something new." I didn't reply. Zane did. So I showed up. He was taller than I remembered, still had that twitchy energy, like his bones didn't always agree on how to sit still, but his face had matured a little, eyes quieter, mouth less smug. We sat on opposite ends of the picnic table, neither of us touching the half-melted frappuccinos Mom had bribed us with. Zane broke the silence first. "I started therapy," he said, glancing sideways. "Like real therapy, not school counselor stuff." "Yeah." He nodded, figured I needed to talk to someone who wasn't stuck living with the fallout. I gave a half-smile. "That's fair." He rubbed his palm across the table's chipped surface. "I used to think you hated me." "I did," I said, "for a while." He swallowed. I didn't know what I was taking. I thought I was just existing. "You were," I said, "but you existed in a space that used to hold everything I called mine." He looked down. "I didn't ask for it." "I know." We sat like that, letting the spring air do most of the talking. After a few minutes, I pulled something from my backpack and slid it across the table. The manila envelope. He froze. "This is." "Your real prints," I said. "I never damaged them, I just borrowed their weight for a while." He opened it slowly, thumbed through the photos like he was checking on old friends. One caught his eye, a crooked shot of a school hallway, lockers and blurred sneakers mid-step. "This one," he said, holding it up, "was the first photo I ever took where I felt like I captured something real." "You did," I said. It reminded me of how invisible I felt walking those same halls. He blinked fast, put the photo back in the stack. "You ever feel like we're just characters in each other's origin stories?" I smiled. "Yeah, and we both started out as the villain." 2 weeks later, we recorded our first podcast episode. Mom helped set up the mic in her living room, adjusting the gain like a proud producer. We didn't script anything, just talked. About blended families. About stolen rooms and soft betrayals. About what it means to take something and what it means to give it back. We called it Second Door on the Left. Listeners came slowly at first, then more. People left comments like, "I thought I was the only one this happened to. My stepbrother and I didn't speak for 5 years, this made me call him. You gave words to something I've felt but never explained." We weren't experts, but we were honest. And sometimes that's enough. The old guitar found its way back into Zane's hands. He started learning chords. Sent me a voice memo one night of him butchering Blackbird with a sheepish "don't laugh." I didn't laugh. I sent him a voice note back of me reading a short story I'd been working on, a piece about a boy whose family shrank around him until he built a new one out of memory and willpower. He wrote back, "I'd read that book. Mom gave me a key to the new apartment a few months later. Just in case," she said. I put it on my keychain but didn't use it much. Because by then, my world had stretched wider than those rooms. I had friends who knew me for my voice, not my absence. I had classmates who sent me their writing and asked for mine in return. And I had my own room, my own light. My own place that no one could move me out of again. Sometimes I still think about the laundry closet. About the cold floor, the detergent smell, the way I used to sleep curled around my phone like it was the only proof I still existed. And I think maybe that room didn't take something from me. Maybe it gave me a reason to build something stronger than space. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real-life confessions and emotional journeys like this one.